the stage. We've seen these battlers time and time again, but we're going to be moving back to the losers brackets here. Beach, I think we saw earlier in the stream, going to be running the Alolan Ninetales, the Obstagoon, Trevenant, Skarmory, Galarian Stunfisk, and Swampert. I think the Pokemon that stands out most to me here on the side of Beach is going to be that Obstagoon. We've talked about fighters and pseudo-fighters, works nicely versus those steals, and has great coverage versus Pokemon like Sableye, Trevenant, and things like that. So yeah, let's hear it. Let's give it up for Beach here.
All right, and on the other side of the table, we have Shiny Dialga with the Altaria, Medicham, Trevenant, Galarian Stunfisk, Swampert, and Lickitung, another Pokemon that does not really like seeing that Obstagoon.
Well, Shiny Dialga is a man with a plan. We saw that on display versus Onion Frank. He knew exactly what was going on. He knows what his win conditions are. He knows what his threats are. He's not just playing the matchup that he sees on his screen. He's playing the matchups that he's expecting in the back as well. Great recognition, great anticipation, and we're going to see if he's able to repeat that here versus Beach. Now let's take a look at some of these different matchups here. Lickitung, I think, is one Pokemon that I like quite a bit. It's going to have some tough matchups, obviously, versus the Obstagoon and somewhat the Skarmory as well, but pretty good matchups versus Swampert, decent versus Galarian Stunfisk, great versus Trevenant, and pretty neutral versus Alolan Ninetales. We've seen a lot of the Lickitung from Shiny Dialga in the past. I think we're going to see it here, but we're moving right into game number one. We've got Beach on the left, Shiny Dialga on the right. We're going to be seeing a very one-sided matchup, the shiny Galarian Stunfisk into the Medicham.
Yeah, and Beach is actually running a team that is ABA weak to this Medicham, so there's the Galarian Stunfisk with its Steel typing in the front that takes super effective damage from these counters, as well as that Obstagoon in the back, which would take double super effective damage. One thing I really want to point out is if you ever run teams that are ABA weak to a certain Pokemon, it's very key that you run the Pokemon that has the slightly better matchup in the front, because it's really tough to switch out in this situation, and you want to play out the matchup very commonly, like we're seeing here, in a zero shield matchup.
I gotta say, Shiny Dialga is playing lights out right now. Normally, you're not going to be shielding that Earthquake early on. You know that your Medicham survives it, but again, I talked about this in the Anhoff matchup. Shiny Dialga recognizes that there is a second Pokemon weak to this Medicham. This Medicham is going to be his MVP for this game, choosing to preserve it, even double shielding versus Galarian Stunfisk. We're gonna see a quick swap out here, most likely to the Lickitung. The Skarmory comes in, and now what he does is he sets up his Medicham to get lined up versus what he's expecting is the Obstagoon. I love this play from Shiny Dialga.
I don't think Shiny Dialga could be playing this any better. We see the immediate swap into the weaker matchup of the Lickitung into the Skarmory. The Skarmory cannot switch out because Beach knows that there's going to be a stronger Pokemon in the back, but actually it does switch out. The Obstagoon is going to come in. Now this Obstagoon's ripe for the picking for the Medicham to come back in, and Medicham, with access to Ice Punch, is going to be able to chip away at that Skarmory in the back, which is also not going to like the Galarian Stunfisk.
Yeah, Shiny Dialga does not need shields. He's got two bulky Pokemon in the back. He's got three bulky Pokemon, in fact. Pretty versatile Pokemon. This Lickitung is going to be able to get some good chip damage versus this Obstagoon. In fact, Beach using the last Protect Shield. Beach wants to extend this matchup as much as possible so that he can swap out of that Obstagoon eventually, but he's not going to be able to because the switch clocks are so misaligned. Despite getting this cross chop off and knocking out this Lickitung, this Medicham is still going to be able to come back in, get a lot of counters, double super effective counters before Beach is able to come back in with a Skarmory.
It'll be really interesting to see exactly how Shiny Dialga plays this out. You see, we didn't actually have Shiny Dialga wait for the switch clock, knowing that the switch clocks aren't aligned, coming in to get as much counter damage as possible before Beach's switch clock is up. Another Night Slash coming through. This still doesn't quite threaten the Medicham.
Yeah, this Medicham, all it needs to do is just get these counters in. It needs to do enough damage to knock out this Obstagoon, and we're going to see the quick swap here, but no, we actually had a CMP tie. At this point, this Ice Punch might be enough to take out this Obstagoon, but again, you've got your Galarian Stunfisk in the back. You have the information knowing that there's still that Skarmory. Yes, it's loaded on energy, but you're going to need so many charge moves to take out this Galarian Stunfisk.
And you can't even throw the heavy-hitting move of the Brave Bird, a Sky Attack, which is going to be slightly less effective at whittling down that Galarian Stunfisk's HP, is going to be thrown first because you cannot have a defense drop, because then one Rock Slide would knock out.
I'm just so impressed by Shiny Dialga. Yes, he got the alignment that he wanted, but he's taking every bit of information that his opponents give him. Beach staying in with the Galarian Stunfisk because he has the double weak Obstagoon in the back. He knows that Medicham needs to remain healthy so that it can take out that Obstagoon later on. every inference that you can possibly take from his opponent, Shiny Dialga is making those reads.
An absolute masterclass of a game from Shiny Dialga. Again, at the end of the battle, I still do not see any singular thing that I would have changed. He knew exactly what his team needed to do against Beach. I feel like he had sight of Beach's phone. He